Namaskar, this is Akhilesh Bhargava. Welcome to Tit-Bits on Business and Finance with me. The number of corona infections and cases in India yesterday crossed 1 million. India now has the third highest number of corona cases in the world after the US and Brazil. In one single day yesterday, we witnessed 37,000 new cases being recorded and 687 deaths took place in one single day. Every passing day, we are witnessing a rising number of cases, a rising number of deaths, and each day we have been touching a new peak. At the moment, as per reports, India witnesses 20 deaths per million corona cases, and that compares very favorably with what is being witnessed and seen and experienced in countries like the US, Spain, Italy, and Brazil, where the number of corona deaths per million have been running into hundreds of cases. In India, we are at 20 per million at the moment. By the year end, at this rate, MIT expects that India will have the highest number of cases in the world of corona, and that means experts estimate that corona cases will continue to come right up to the year end, which is an alarming situation. Because of corona, we have seen 100 million persons losing their jobs. That's the number of jobs India has lost. And the careers and studies of 28 crore students continues to hang in limbo. Migrant labor, apart from going back to their villages because of a grim situation at home, they've also carried the coronavirus to their villages. And resultantly, India at the moment is witnessing an upsurge in corona cases in villages, in rural areas, in interior India. The migrant labor have proved to be spreaders. They took it from the cities there, and with villages not having the best of health infrastructure, the cases are bound to rise. In our estimate, the number of cases and the number of deaths is bound to be much higher. And the reason we say that is because the number of tests which are being conducted in India are very low. There must be a large number of deaths or a large number of infections that took place which were because of corona but never got detected and reported in the absence of tests. And therefore, if the tests are much more, maybe the increase in cases in India that are being reported will prove to be much more. Corona has disrupted the Indian economy. Its demand and supply both is in shambles, and with 1/3 of India's population being in a strict lockdown at the moment, the economy is only going to deteriorate further. Demand and supply will continue to remain in a shaky position. The fact of the matter is that even before corona came into India, the Indian economy was in a shaky position, and because of corona, it has only gone shakier. The government may want to say that things are improving. The government may even seem to see green shoots of recovery, which unfortunately we do not seem to see. And that's because in our very clear analysis and estimate, the real picture of the economy is far grimmer than what is being recognized and reported by the government. The only solace that is there at present is that the number of deaths taking place in India is much lower than global figures, as has been said earlier. The deaths are low, but because of the deaths being low, there is no complacence that can come in. Because of deaths being low, the hospitals in India, in cities like Bombay, are not overcrowded, but in case they shoot up, then we will have a similar situation in hospitals which we witness in New York, which we witness in countries like Italy. If you go to the history of corona, if you go to the lockdown timelines, as of January 30th, 2020, India had just one corona case. And then when in March Mr. Modi imposed the lockdown, at that time, India had 1,000 corona cases. And after that, the cases have been going up. The initial purpose of the lockdown was to think that it will contain the spread of corona. Even then, it was clear that India was facing a case where we had to take a decision of a trade-off between life and livelihood. The initial phase, the government preferred to err in favor of life. We needed to save lives, and thus an extremely stringent lockdown was imposed. The purpose was to save lives, but livelihood took a huge hit. Down the line, both life and livelihood have taken a big hit because of the corona lockdown and because of the infections continuing. After 2 months of lockdown being imposed, it was very evident that the economy has gone in a worse shape. Contraction had set in, recession had set in, demand and supply were disrupted, and businesses were now in a failure mode. That point of time, it was very clear that the trade-off between either life or livelihood has not proved to be successful. Livelihood has been shattered in a large way. The lockdown and close down of the economy had an extremely adverse impact on the economy, and that is why sometime in mid-June, the government started to unlock. The Prime Minister at that time said that it is time for Jaan bhi or Jahan bhi, which is let lives be there and livelihood too. June witnessed a return to some kind of a demand. There was an increase in demand in June when the lockdown started getting lifted in part. But that's because the backlog in demand because of April and May surfaced in June, and therefore the demand that we saw in June was not a return to any kind of a growth, it was a false dawn. The industry was just meeting the backlog of demand for the last 2 months when there was a total close down. Thereafter, we have witnessed lockdown and close down continuing in states like Maharashtra, Gujarat, West Bengal, Tamil Nadu, Telangana and Uttar Pradesh. And with the lockdown coming back in these major states in a large way, the demand again fell. Key indices to judge whether there is some kind of normalcy taking place and whether the economy is referring have all gone back into an adverse mode. And we are talking about power consumption, we are talking about fuel demand, we are talking about e-way bills being issued and all kinds of mobility indices. We are back to where it was in the second fortnight of July. And what we are also now witnessing is that states like Goa, Kerala and cities like Bangalore, which thought that they had controlled Corona and they had started reopening completely, they are now seeing that Corona is coming back with a vengeance. The number of cases are bound to continue to rise, and with this continued onslaught of COVID, lives and livelihood are both again back in danger. When will it end is a big question mark, and nobody is able to predict that. This situation of COVID continuing to rise, this situation where the likes of MIT think that the rise will continue in cases right up to the end of the year, gives rise to a number of large cases which are a matter of concern. The first is that with cases continuing, contraction of the economy continues. The rating agency ICRA, which had earlier estimated that the Indian economy will contract by 5% in the financial year 2021, in its recent report now says that the economy will contract by 9.5%, and we will not be surprised that if in the coming months this estimate is taken up even further. Now that ICRA has said that, even the likes of Citibank, IMF, Goldman Sachs, Nomura, etc., all of whom had earlier estimated that the Indian economy will contract by 4.5 to 5%, are going to revise their estimates. The economy is not going to start growing from Q3 as has been estimated by various others, for the simple reason, as long as the infection continues, the lockdown will continue and the economy is not going to be normal. The second issue, of course, is, and we have been saying this very often, that the longer the lockdown continues, the longer the close down continues, the more will be their business failures, the more will be their business closures, and revival is not going to be easy. Thus, with corona cases going up, be prepared for the long haul. Be prepared for further contraction in the economy. Be prepared for a recession. Be prepared for business failures, job losses, loan defaults, the receding of demand and tax collections going down. In other words, the government finances are only going to deteriorate further. The alarming scene that we now see is that now it is a case of survival of the middle class, survival of the entrepreneur class. And this survival is getting even more difficult because most of the traditional assets of investments are witnessing an illiquid situation or a decimation of their values. Real estate market, for example, is going down, has gone down and remains illiquid. And all those segments of middle class or entrepreneur class who had parked their money into investments in real estate are finding it difficult to liquidate those assets for their own survival. With little government support coming, with little bank support coming in reality, revival of the economy with this continuation of corona is going to prove to be an uphill task. As we said, government finances are also shaky and the treasury has been empty. The only silver lining is that the rural economy has been robust, it is doing good. The question is, will India's rural economy prove to be that engine, that locomotive which can pull the entire economy out of this critical situation? We think it's not strong enough to be able to do that, and it will not create that much demand such that the manufacturing sector on its whole will be able to see a revival. At stake is Jahan bhi and Jahan bhi, and let's see where does Corona take us to. This is Akhilesh Bhargava signing off till we meet again. Namaskar.
हमारे घरों में भी बच्चे होते हैं जो हमसे प्यार दुलार की आस करते हैं।
हमारा भी जीवन साथी है जिसको हमारे ड्यूटी से घर आने का इंतजार होता है।
हमारे घर में भी एक बूढ़ी माँ है जिनके लिए आज भी हम ही आंखों के तारे हैं।
लेकिन हम हमारे घरों में नहीं हैं। आपकी सुरक्षा में कोई कसर न रहे, इसलिए हम अपने प्रियजनों से दूर हैं।
हम में से ही कुछ तो अब इतने दूर जा चुके हैं कि वो वापस अपने घरों को लौट भी नहीं पाएंगे।
हमें गर्व है कि हमारे कंधों पे मुंबई शहर के नागरिकों की सुरक्षा की जिम्मेदारी है। हमारे जज्बे और बलिदान को व्यर्थ न जाने दे। इस संकट के समय में आप घर पे रहे, सुरक्षित रहे।
Now be the first to know about the latest updates on our new news app. Go on your Android or iOS, search for HW News Network. Download our app, choose the language you prefer to get updates in, and be up to date with the latest news.
If you like this video, please share it, and we would love to hear your comments in the comments section down here. Also, please do like our Facebook page and follow us on Twitter to get minute-to-minute news updates. For more such shows and videos, well, subscribe to our YouTube channel.